Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this end of year press conference. The minister will address major issues. Key on his plate, we will talk about the MCC Compact. Efforts are being placed there for the formulation of the compact. And he will also touch on the passage of the budget last night. Mr. Minister, welcome.
Well, thank you, Nyakona. Well, gentlemen, I don't see a lady here of the press. Welcome again to the Ministry of Finance. I wanted to talk briefly about a few things, very briefly. On the 10th of this month, the Millennium Challenge Corporations Board met and declared Liberia eligible for a second MCC Compact. That was a reaffirmation because in 2024, we had been declared eligible. In the intervening period, a new government came in, a transition took place in the US from President Biden to President Trump, and there was some restructuring of the entire MCC arrangement. It was put under the review of the MCC board and the Secretary of State of the US, Marco Rubio. The indicators were amended from 20 to 22, and the new indicators have two indicators as hard hurdles. Hard hurdles, meaning you can pass every other thing. If you don't pass that particular hard hurdle, you fail. Now the indicators, unlike before, where we had 20 indicators, under the Trump administration, we have 22 indicators. The minimum passing before was 10, now is 11, including passing two hard hurdles, fight against corruption and personal freedom. So you can pass 21 of all the indicators. If you don't pass maybe the corruption indicator, or you don't pass the personal freedom indicator, you have failed. So I just wanted to explain that. Some time ago, the scorecard was issued, and our country, Liberia, passed 12 of the 22 indicators, and including the two hard hurdles. What was significant is that some other countries in our region did not make it. I wouldn't name or shame anybody, but if you know what happened, you appreciate your country. The MCC board met and reaffirmed Liberia for a second compact. This the Trump administration's reaffirmation. The Trump administration is in for 4 years, beginning this year. So as I explained then, and I will reiterate now, so that our people can understand, it's like you pass an entrance exam to enter maybe a university, and you're getting prepared for school. But then a new principal comes in and says, you know what? I don't recognize those results. I have to reassess and reevaluate whether, under my emphasis, that you all that on that list, whether you qualify. And then the new principal comes and maybe adds some new evaluation things. Maybe give another, add up another subject. Say everyone has to go through it. And after that period, some people are dropped. Some that were on the original list, and then some are considered to have passed. The new principal now say, you know what, now you can enter the school. You have all the rights and privileges of being a student in this school. So you have to remember that some who passed before, who were declared illegible before, they are history now under the new administration. So I wanted to say this for people to understand the significance of what happened on the 10th. So your country has been reaffirmed by the new administration. Had to pass the scorecard, and it's an assessment of the government, its credibility, its engagement, and its vision. And so post December 10th, when the board met and reaffirmed us. The MCC board met on the 10th and reaffirmed us. But as you have read in the press, not all countries got good news. I will stop there. Not all countries got good news at that board meeting. Liberia got good news. Go and research what happened to some other countries. But I'm happy that your country, got good news from there. What does this mean? What it means is that we go to a process called compact development. The compact development phase. The compact will be the projects that will be funded under the MCC. Those projects will be identified, and then after this period of identification, then a figure or an amount will be put out. And this process, the compact development phase, could take between a year to 2 years, depending on how the country moves. And we don't intend to snip pace. We are moving fast. Immediately after the MCC head for Africa for compact operations alerted us about Liberia's reaffirmation. Last week, Thursday, which was the 11th, we had almost a 1-hour Zoom conversation with the MCC leadership last week, discussing the next steps. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you on. For next steps, on Monday, the Ministry of Finance is going to issue an announcement. We did before in January under the Biden administration, and when the Trump administration came, we had a pause. We're going to put out vacancy announcement for 2 critical positions. One will be the coordinator of the MCC. The second one will be the chief economist. We're going to be hiring other positions later, but these 2 positions are critical. We're going to put the announcement out for competent Liberians to apply. The intention is that the MCC, Ms. Carrie Monahan, the head of Compact Operations for Africa, will be visiting Liberia by, I think, the 19th, out of the middle of the month, January to the 19th. And then a compact team, the MCC team, is going to come to work with us. And we want the coordinator and the chief economist to be in. We're going to be hiring other positions, gender specialists, private sector specialists, and others down the line. That's one of the reasons why we, thanks to the legislature, we've gotten some resources, through this budget process, working with us for us to start to hire. The MCC will eventually, as time goes by, maybe after a year, start to bankroll things. But in the meantime, the government will have to bankroll the process until probably after a year, when the American government through the MCC will bankroll the new MCC office. You all knew about the old MCC office. A new one now is coming in, and competent Liberians will be hired in different positions. So I want to announce beginning Monday, we're putting out the announcement for coordinator, that is going to be the head, and chief economist. We hope that before the end of January, we can be finished with the hiring process. All those that are interested must show us that they are prepared to start work on February 1. The MCC team that is coming in middle February, they want to see those people in office and prepared. We don't want to delay, because what is going to happen now is we are going to now zero down on the key sector that will benefit from MCC support. In this process, there's going to be further analysis. We've identified the key constraints to growth generally, but there's going to be some deep dive of study and work. We've been telling you about energy access, lack of adequate energy access being one of the key constraints, infrastructure, especially road infrastructure, and other forms of infrastructure, one of the key constraints. That's why in our own budget, we are emphasizing those things. The MCC, when they came here, they feeded a team in September of this year for more than 2 weeks. We broadly agree that those sectors remain the key constraints to growth. Those issues remain the key constraints to growth. Now, we are going to work with them to finalize, to say, okay, are we going to spread the funds if we get the funds, or when we get the funds, or are we going to find one sector, 2 sectors, or 3? That conversation is going to happen. It's going to be a technical conversation. And at the end of the day, there's something called the root cause analysis. What do we call root cause analysis? So, okay, if there's a constraint to growth, what is the root cause of this problem? And how can we, as a country, Liberia, working with the MCC, put some money and effort to addressing the root cause? In the energy sector, we will go beyond identifying energy as a constraint to growth, root causes. If roads go to the root causes, and then is in that process, the projects are identified, specific projects are identified. They will be costed. And when they are costed, it is the costing that will lead to the figure. And also based on the availability of funds that Congress would have given the MCC for its compact operations across the world. So I wanted to give you all that information. So we are working hard. They say, well, you have 2 years, but our intention is to proceed and sprint so that we can conclude this thing within a year. So you see us, we are immediately going to hiring. So there will be some sprinting going on. We want to populate the office as quickly as possible, and so that when our folks come, we are not delaying. The president is impatient with delay. The Liberian people are impatient, and so we're going to sprint. So that's about MCC. The other information we should know, in fact, you've covered last night, the Senate concurred with the House for the passage of the budget. The historic $1.2 billion budget. When we tabled the budget, it was 1.211, including an expected signature bonus of 200 million from Metal after the passage, when the passage is done. But as I said then, if you take away the Metal money, you still talking about 1 billion, 11 million. So with or without Metal, the budget was above $1 billion. In the scrutiny process, in the review process, we've agreed with the legislature that we can increase the budget envelope to 1,249 million. 1,249 million. So the budget, the draft budget, has increased by a little upwards of 38 million from the draft. It came from the review. Some of the reasons for that is that there were some revenue items that were projected for this year, 2025, that will evidently not be raised this year. Some of them included signature bonus from the Total and others we projected for this year. But the budget is just being, those agreements are just being signed, and the commitments they have there is to pay after 30 days, some of them 3 months. So obviously 2025 has practically elapsed for those. So some of the reasons why the budget increase was precisely because of that. There were other sources too. So we want to thank the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Richard Nangwe, and the heads of the Ways and Means Committee and other relevant committees of the House, especially the head of the Ways, Means, Finance, Budget Committee, P. Mark Jury and his team. We want to thank the Pro Tem, Honorable Senator Nyomli Kanga Lawrence, and the Senate, more specifically, the head of the Ways, Means, Finance, and Budget Committee of the Senate, Honorable Prince Kemil Moi and the team. We want to thank all other senators who work diligently and all other representatives, members of civil society and other actors, you all in the press. This has been very engaging. The budget debate, it was not only at the legislature, but the traffic has been in all the whether social media, whatever media. It's been very, very interesting. Our open budget score has gone up as a result of this. So we here at the level of the Ministry of Finance, we like the debate. So continue the debate. You don't have to agree, and give your perspective from your vantage point. You see certain things, and it's our responsibility to give you what we see and what we know. And this proves the democratic credentials of our country. So we also want to thank the Vice President, who is the President of the Liberian Senate, for the role he played in the process. We also want to thank the President, because this is the President's budget. He has earned a place in history that since the founding of this country, he's the first president to have taken the Liberian budget above $1 billion. So on behalf of my team at the Ministry of Finance, and I want to congratulate His Excellency President Joseph Newman Parker. And he was proud of this whole process. He didn't just leave it with us. There were conversations and consultations that the president himself had to be a part of. The passage of the budget is no mean feat. You have to bring political actors who have their own interests, constituencies, and concerns. You have to marry all the interests and get the majority of the political actors, representatives, and senators. So we are happy that we have had the budget passed before the start of the fiscal year. This is significant. It's the second year in a row that we have achieved this historical feat. Since 2006, it's been difficult to have the budget being passed before the start of the fiscal year. And that empties into budget execution issues and delays and complications, meaning all ministries, agencies must operate 1/12 of the old appropriation, and everything is like you're not fully there yet. With the budget being passed, we are in a get set, ready go mood for January 2nd. I don't want to say January 1st because it will be a holiday. So every ministry, the NRA and ourselves, we are dusting our boots because we want to start. Next week, there are going to be conversations or some preparation conversations, whether it is the Ministry of Public Works, who has enormous enormous amount of work to do. They're not waiting. All the entities, the PPCC will want the PPCC to move faster. We want to be able to raise the budget as quickly as possible. So I wanted to tell you that and to say thanks to all of you. The budget is passed. We are about to enter the implementation phase. Now, everything hasn't been completed yet. It has to go to the president to approve. Because the budget is a law. The legislature, passes the bill. When the president signs off, which we expect anytime, then it becomes law. It becomes an act. So it's still a budget bill. All the indications I have so far, I can assure you that the president doesn't intend to veto the budget. So we can assume that the budget is approved. That's the assurance I got from the president. So let me stop here and then we can take whatever question you have. Yeah.
We'll have a few questions. We'll show here, identify you. Okay, let's take from Page Africa.
Mr. Minister, so you spoke about political actors. So there's this claim, firstly, there's a claim about people in the executive feedbacks, people in the executives are claiming that you are kind of like interfering with their workings in terms of the 2026 national budget. How realistic is this claim regarding your interference with their workings? Because if you look at it, every institution have their own political standpoint, how they want to operate. Probably yours may not correspond or be in alignment with theirs. So how is the claim possible?
Well, Jahim, let me explain that. At the level of the Ministry of Finance, we coordinate many things. Our duty is to work and attract resources and make sure that we implement. As I said once upon a time, the Ministry of Finance is like the heart to the body, and the other ministries to a large extent are like the legs, the arms, and everything. If we do not pump blood, we paralyze the operation. So, we're talking about sectors. You didn't hear me saying the Ministry of Finance is a key sector for growth, right? You hear me talking about energy. We put the money in energy. So we don't interfere when we put the money in energy. We empower. You heard me talking about the road sector. We put money in roads. We go out there, we raise resources. You heard they did on Monday. We launched the 100 construction and or rehabilitation of 100 schools for foundational learning. The implementing agency is the Ministry of Education. But let me tell you, the Ministry of Finance is the one that signs with the World Bank and others. We are responsible. And so, in fact, it's good you raised this question. You remember I was talking about debt? That this budget has been passed. I'm very happy. And let me say this. Let me confess to you. The debt conversation became a conversation that only me was having practically. In the debate, I hardly heard people talking about debt. Debt in this budget is about 230 million debt service. It is raveling to, now it will change because the figures will change. But in the draft, what we projected for education and health sectors was 233 million. Debt service, 230 million. So imagine two of your big sectors, could not. I mean, debt alone was challenging two of your big sectors. The 230 million is not even the total that we should have budgeted for. We have to try to renegotiate because the total debt service burden for next year is about 317 million. It's growing. It's a major stuff. Now, how you may ask, how is it? You see, most of the financing, some of which, like you saw the 100 schools, huh? Part of it is grant. Almost 30 million is grant. The rest, because the total package is almost 90 million for that project. The rest is loan, concessional, pay back over 50 years. But we're going to pay back as a country. Low interest rate. What? The previous day you were here with the EU. That is grant-free money. Now, when it comes to repaying the loan, we are the ones, the government must repay. If you default, those partners will default on you. They could close their program. In fact, they could sanction you. The World Bank alone for next year, in next year's budget, we've budgeted 25 million to pay back our obligation to the World Bank. So it's strange, right? You say, oh, this is a country that are looking for money. Why would you be paying World Bank? That's our obligation. The PFM law says that debt service is the first claim on revenue, meaning what the law anticipates is that when you're about to draft the budget, you should ask yourself, who government owes, and put it on the side, So we've done that, and the debt service is very huge. It's not going to decrease. We're not going to worry because we intend to expand the size of the budget. So overall, we manage to coordinate, we do not interfere. Now, specifically, one of the concerns that some folks had was the change of the budget structure. They didn't understand it. We changed the budget structure in order to enhance accountability and transparency. There were some appropriations in the budget that, look, like this year's budget. If you check the Ministry of Finance budget this year, 2025, you'll find out that it's more than 200 million. Is that what the Ministry of Finance uses? Or ordinary person out there will say, 200 million? Is it fair for people to assume that we are using 200 million to run the ministry? No. And you see some other budget. So in order to create transparency, there's something called general claims. That the debt thing I'm talking about. Debt, is it Augustine Ngafuan's debt? Yeah? It's Jaim's debt too. It's Titus' debt. It's Nelson's debt. Is it Ministry of Finance or these people that are around me, my deputy for budget, Mrs. Bronson's debt, or my assistant minister for budget, Mrs. Moba, Sarah McGill's Moba debt, or my chief economist here, operating on a debuzo, Ngafuan, is this Ngafuan's debt? Is it Alice Williams' debt? She's responsible for aid management, or financial advisor Ellis Coffey's debt. It's not a personal debt. It's the country's debt. It is Unity Tokpa's debt too. Yeah, it's our debt. So we put it to because almost before we used to call it national claims. Now we call it general claims or general government expenditure. We do our sin control. So if you see the Ministry of Finance budget in the draft drops to about 25 million from more than 200 million because that's what we use to run the ministry. That creates transparency. You can know. Now, so other entities, including the CSA and others, like pensions, or like consultancy for the whole government. Consultancy, it's not just CSA consultancy for public works, consultancy for the Ministry of Education, consultancy, but someone will see the CSA budget and think that, why are they taking all this money? So all controls, all supervisory rights have been maintained. but we have bifurcated, we have put the figure in the national claims place. So that's the explanation. Some of our colleagues did not understand it. We're talking about Ministry of Finance trying to take the money. No. In fact, in the preface of the budget, the draft budget, we wrote it clearly on somewhere called budget structure, and I will quote it. We said, quote, appropriations previously placed on certain spending entities based on those entities' close links and supervisory roles in the execution of said appropriations have now been moved to a new budget category called general government expenditure. This is intended to ensure transparency, accountability, and the separation of those entities' core expenditure from the general government expenditure items. Spending entities, hear this, spending entities will still carry out their supervisory roles. So we have not taken away their rights and their powers in execution of those items. All we wanted to do, or all we've done, we've put those items in a separate part of the budget called, general government expenditure. And before, let me tell you, that's how the budget structure was. Maybe up to 20, I don't know when this changed and where it got so bloated in one ministry, like Ministry of Finance, and our DMA has been practically complaining. He goes, budget defense, the Deputy Minister of Administration, because the administration people are the key to defend. Now he goes and throws a $200 million budget. Our DMA, so he starts to ask for assistance. Yeah, so it's part of it. I needed to clarify that because it became an issue. Some senators and some legislators wanted to know, about that.
Okay, let's say
so on this Yanti report for OPFM, last evening there were commendations pouring from a host of Senator Gilles, Senator Amar, and other senators expressing commendation with regards to improvement in the budget of agriculture and health education as well. But then there was this large debate that came in with regards to improvement in the salary of civil servant. And some of the senators said that the time were being late for the fact that they've already deliberated on the budget has been passed. But is there anything in stock for civil servant? Maybe it's not the 2026 pending budget for 27.
We've said this over and over, but maybe, I don't know. But sometimes we just have to repeat. The fact that you don't do all doesn't mean you haven't done some. So some people are misinterpreting all. If you can do all, it's like if you don't score 100, then you have scored 0. Oh, between 100 and 0, huh? So universe of numbers in that space. We said, and we've been clear, in 1 year, we haven't been increasing salaries of everyone in 1 year. We've been moving methodically. Last year, we emphasized heavily health workers. We're across, and let me say this. The folks at CB Doma were the only group that came up publicly to celebrate and announce. It was not only CB Doma, to CB Doma's health workers. But as I said to you guys, we understand why people don't come out and say, government has increased my salary in this environment. People facing salary issues, they were announcing to you guys in the press. When they get solutions, they don't announce it. For their own strategic personal reasons. You don't know what they declared at home and other places. So, we don't want to. The reason why, some of my folks here, can you announce? Can you? I stop. I got to understand. There is salaries or personal stuff for people. We just talk in generalities. More than 28,000 persons are benefiting from salary increases in 2025 budget. Quote me on that. More than 28,000 persons. 2027 or 2026, we said it's the year of the engineers. We said it. You guys were here. We increasing engineer salary. We even bringing 200 additional engineers on the payroll who were not on the GSC or on the public works payroll. We are also increasing salaries of the LDEA workers because it's low. We have also intervened for GSC. We've also intervened for LACC. In fact, my folks tell me, I will confirm that we have, I don't like to use the word, but you guys love the word, that we have reversed harmonization fully at the LACC. The judiciary, we have almost reached a point where they said now we're almost there. We haven't reached fully. We'll go and see what has happened. So we're moving methodically. We're moving gingerly. And this year, we said it. So the fact that we cannot do all doesn't mean we haven't done some. So anyone who says that because we did not increase, you got to go and amend. What do you mean? We don't, because one of the reasons is this. Do you know that we have to budget now for almost every year, almost 15 million, 16 million in debt service to the central bank? We are paying debt service to the central bank against an $83 million loan that was taken by the previous government to service, quote unquote, purportedly, I think that was done in December 2023, to purportedly deal with salary related issues for the latter part of that government. We are paying. Think about what 16 million on current civil servant would have done. So you're dealing with that problem, and you also dealing with increasing, topping up. Last year we topped up salaries of the soldiers, of AFS soldiers, police. We pay insurance, so we're doing it. We're doing it. We don't announce things that we retreat from. We are methodical. We do not carry them in the troposphere and drop them on ice in a way that is very harsh. We don't do that. So we're moving methodically. We're dealing with a huge debt burden, but our credibility has been restored. We owe the government owes commercial banks more than 300 million, if I'm not mistaken. We've budgeted 90 million almost to pay commercial banks for next year. And some people will say, why are you doing it? Because if we don't pay the commercial banks, we've suffocated them. The commercial banks, by us meeting our debt service obligation to commercial banks, they can easily loan to businesses and the private sector. So everything we're doing has a method, has a reason. Everything has a rhyme and a reason. So that's what we're doing. So I just want to clarify that.
Okay. Mr. Minister, thank you. Later received money from BLPC. Yesterday evening, there was a passage of this national budget. What did you make of it?
Well, as I said, I'm happy that we have the budget passed before January 1. The second year in a row that we've achieved this feat. So the entire government is now in get set ready, go mood. We start early. Most often, because of delay, the budget implementation may start in earnest in March. 2 months. If you take 2 months of 12-month budget implementation period, you lead into problem. And some of the reasons why people have revenue difficulties before is because of delayed start to budget implementation. One of the reasons why we're tackling this thing is that when you start on time, you more likely will power the economy quickly, and then it leads into raising revenue quickly. We have projects, public works, besides public works, most of the ministries have a lot of things to do. We don't want delay. We don't want delay. So we're talking with even the PPCC to move faster in approving procurement plans. But the next thing is procurement plan. So I'm saying this to all ministries, agencies, and commission. Please work next week. Yes, we're in festive season, but don't get overly festive. Please do some work next week. Prepare for budget execution, implementation beginning January the 2nd. So this is a caveat to heads of spending entities. Please do some work with your procurement folks, putting together your procurement plan. Do your work with your budget folks, your controllers, because if you delay your procurement plan, the PPCC will not approve. And we do not give you money if you don't have the procurement plan, the cash plan, everything. So do your part, and we will do our part. At least we'll have some money to start. So we don't intend to delay people. The more money we can put out quickly, it helps the cycle flow. So I just wanted to put that out.
Alaska?
Yeah, Minister, thank you for that. That was my question. The execution of the budget. How well the ministry is prepared to the execution of the budget. You get touched. Thank you.
Okay.
I think Spoon.
All right. Thank you, Minister Nelson Kohler. Before now, we saw delays with the budget from the submission of the draft budget to the legislature to the passage of the budget itself. We saw significant delay in that line. Now that we've gotten to the point where there is smooth passage, let's say submission of the budget within the time frame and all of that, what can you say about the performance of this particular budget that we are about to come as the performance of the 2025 budget? I know you mentioned some projections that are now going over, which are subsequently resulted to extra 38 million and stuff. But what can you say about the performance of this budget? Did you meet your target? If so, what percentage will you attach to that in terms of rating?
Well, after you all leave, there are two critical meetings we're having today. The first one we call cash planning. The other one is called budget management. We're meeting. We started the year in a very tough way. You saw what I said before concerning some of our major partners pulling out in terms of support. But by and large, we've weathered the storm. From indications that I've received, we are on course to meeting our target, but I don't want to jump the gun. We're going to get reports from everyone, from the LRA, from everybody. But the report I got 2 weeks ago made me to be confident that we are on course. So by the end of the year, we'll be able to announce, but we are fairly on course. And so that makes me happy. But we'll give you specifics later when all the figures are confirmed. December is a month of a lot of activity across different sectors. So let's see how it turns out. As I said, next week, although it's Friday, we'll generate more revenue every day. So let's see how next week goes up to the end of the year. So let's see. But we're fairly on course. But we'll give you specifics when the year ends.
Yeah, just a quick follow-up to that. In the past, there were reports of certain amounts being allotted for certain institutions. I have witnessed hearings where those institutions came up and say, okay, maybe 5 million or 6 million was allotted for us, but we didn't get that amount. We were able to get maybe 1 million or 2 million. What is the Ministry of Finance on your watch doing to address these kinds of?
Two reasons. One, if the budget is not raised, budget is a plan. Some of you were here when I was having the press conference with the EU ambassador. And I told you the significance of that engagement was we have moved from projection to performance. The EU, we projected that the EU will have given budget support of that amount in this year's budget, 2024. When we're crafting the 2025, when we're crafting the 2024 budget, we projected that amount. Budget is just nothing but projection. Some people think that you have money in the bank. Yeah, no. So plain. It's a paper. As I said before, teaching budgeting at the university sometime in the past, I went and asked my students to define budget. What is a budget? And all kinds of sophisticated definition. Then I carried a budget book, the actual budget book. I think I was budget director then. I had a book. So I showed it to them. This is the budget. What do you see? They said, I asked, what do you see? I said, you just see a book. And what's in the book? So sheet. So the budget is nothing but a conglomeration of sheets. But why do you take that sheet seriously? Unlike other sheets. Because serious plan goes into those sheets. And it's almost like it gets some credibility to some extent that people think that you have money in the bank. You know, you got to raise the money. You raise the money. You heard me talking when we talk about the EU budget support. If you were asking the indicators question, you became the indicator journalist. What do you mean, indicators? So all these things that I said, people work. Ministries work. So if the ministries get lazy, in spite of that projection, we have a shortfall. So if we're not meeting shortfall, it's because not just the Ministry of Finance, but the ministries and agencies of government are working. So we got the 24 million from the EU because we met the indicators. Otherwise, it would have put us in a hole of about 24 million this year. So that's how it is. So we don't have, we have plans to raise the budget. That's why I told you we in get set ready go move for January 1. Because when you start to implement the budget on the for January 2nd, practically, if you start early, it helps you early. And then you create momentum. We start putting up money. Money brings money. So we want to put up money as early as possible so that entities can start to implement. Now, so there's one reason. But the other reason could be if you don't raise the budget, the entities that you project, you can give them the money. But the other reason could be transfers to deal with urgent government expenditures. We said today, we're thinking about what is going to happen next year. Am I a prophet? No. Is the legislature, group of prophets? No. Are we soothsayers? No. But in this process, you assume that you are a prophet. You assume you know all that's going to happen next year. So prophecies in that budget. Huh? So now, in some respect, the prophecy will not actualize. Some emergencies we don't think about will happen. Like the last time that you had senatorial by-election for Prince Johnson, the late Prince Johnson and others. Did we prophesy his death? Some of those by-elections. Did we know that even if we were going to have the Nima by-election, that our representative will win and then create a vacancy that we have to find money by law? We didn't project that. How do you deal with those difficulties? All of a sudden, okay, we project now. We are budgeted for the Loon Star, right? Historically, it's been budgeted terribly, very low. Okay, we've budgeted, I think, $1 million or so. We think, do you know how many, if Loon Star is playing and winning, huh? You know how much we pay each time? So should we say we're not going to do with that because it's not in the budget? Sometimes you see some emergencies around here. People protesting, government must pay. And you guys will be the ones covering them. They'll cover them. Oh, it's not in the budget. Can we be so, regimented? So the budget creates a dynamic document. In budget execution, you have a percentage of the budget that can be transferred to deal with these kinds of things. But others don't understand it. And sometimes you hear the word off budget. At one point, you guys, rightly so, because is the I call it the budget literacy is increasing gradually. Off budget. But most of those things that were happening, those emergencies you're talking about, to address them, you had to find money somewhere else. And those are the off-budget expenditures. So off-budget expenditure, by its nature, is not a crime. It's provided for. So if you do it excessively, above the threshold, then it's a problem. So ministries and agencies may not get their budgeted appropriation, meaning one, it's usually said, you must get the money in your pocket to give it out, right? If you don't raise it, you don't give it. So firstly, raise the money. Secondly, even if you raise the money, if you do not expect, if you did not expect some things to happen to you, you finish putting your whole plan after you receive your salary for the month. You've done your normal things. Some abnormal things happen. You must take extra money. How do you deal with it? So the budget creates that dynamic nature to deal with problems. But thank you for the question.
Okay, Minister, my name is Tatus and I work for Joy FM. And I like to be simple with this so that our people view how we hear it. The minister, this budget we're talking about has been subjected to critical analysis. People believe that, the amount there, we may not be able to achieve it. Others believe that we will be able to achieve it, and it has been out there in the public with different views. One of such is the former minister, of course, have his own say, and his view has been heard on the social media, in different newspapers, radio stations.
Which former minister? Bernard Kamara?
I'm talking about the Senator, Amara Kone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so many people believe that you have not spoken to that and silence is a concern. Maybe you agree with me. I would like to know what's your position on that. That's one. Number two, when you look at the government you're serving now, the Unity Party government, there is this sense that the government know how to get this compact business here. And I'd like to speak to that issue. If you look back, the first compact we had, it was on this government. The second compact today, it is on this government. What is the key that you people use to attract the compact all the time to us?
Well, let me start the compact question. Firstly, you must get the indicators right. You should win the indicators. The past UP government did not fail any indicator in a year, past every year. And let me commend at the time the Ministry of Planning, working with us at Finance, and then it became Ministry of Planning, led the process, coordinated the process. Minister Amara Kone then, was minister here. 2015, when we won the first compact, we worked together with all other entities. I was foreign minister. We did our part, but it was coordinated by the Ministry of Finance and Planning, led by Mr. Kone, and we got compact number 1. And so the UP government, since we've come in, we haven't failed. The 2024 we passed, 2025 we've passed. The 2 years so far we've passed. There was some turbulence in the past, but our colleagues, I think 3 years we did not pass as a government, as a country, but in 2022 and 2021, 2022, 2023, there were passes. But it also has to do with what the MCC folks, evaluate for the present and the future and the engagement, and everything goes into it. So you can pass the indicators, which is key. It is sine qua non, but the government must also be deemed to be on the path to deserve a compact. Indicators are good. There are people that pass indicators that were not approved at the board. Indicators are good, but they will look at where they are at the present moment and going into the future. Do they trust you to engage with you as a serious partner for a compact? Left with the American government, I think for me it's not a secret. That's what we've been doing. So, but coming to the other question, I've forgotten the detail, but you were asking about
Mr. Conan being critical on the budget and some of those issues that he pointed out. He does not believe that it will happen.
Well, let me say this. I have operated, there's an unwritten code of decorum unwritten code of conduct that that should exist between incumbents and former occupants of opposition. There's an unwritten code of conduct. I've largely, in my professional life, in my government life, public life, I've operated by that code of conduct. I know how to write. I can write a whole lot. Some of you know that. And as far as you know, I know how to talk also. But if you check my record, not just now, check, I've always given. I've been a successor, I've been a predecessor. I repeat. I've been a successor and I've been a predecessor. But for this position, I'm both a successor and predecessor. You know that. So I've given all my predecessors and my successors, based on where you take it, benefits of the doubt. Watch them and always wish them well. Where I had concerns, this and that, I would try to transmit it to them, and so that, to help. Always wish them well. So I operate by that code of conduct on rating. Maybe some people say because I'm a diplomat. I was the country's first diplomat for almost 4 years. But before becoming Minister of Foreign Affairs, I've been operating by that code of conduct. So, but do I expect every other person to operate by that informal code of conduct? I don't. And so what they violated, I respect their right to violate too. But I would not violate it. I would not violate it. It's not because I cannot write. I can write. It's not because I cannot talk. I talk where it's necessary. But I also enjoy debates. Sometimes I'm so busy to check what is on Facebook or whatever book, and some people will tell me, did you check Facebook? Like the other night, we're here up to almost 1 p.m. We work, we don't even check. Sometimes my mother will call me, she can't get me for days. So folks will tell me the Facebook is very frenetic, there's enough traffic. And this person said this person said that. Sometimes I don't chase these things. But in the envelope, I look at they get their methods. I respect their methods. I'll go and give clarification. Sometimes when I engage you or I give you some details, but I will continue to respect that unwritten code of conduct. But it's not because I cannot write. It's not because I cannot talk. So all those who think, let me give a caveat. All those who think that my respect of that written code of conduct means that, when you deviate, you say things, that are unfair, you are right. No. But by and large, we expect unfair comments to be made in the budget process. Let me say this quite clearly. I tell my people misinterpret. People will try to caricature our characters in the process. It's normal. So we do not. So it was good. It's good. We don't have to agree. The relevant places for the clarification, we've made it. As time goes by, like we're talking about funding to agriculture as one. You're here. We deal with the partners. And we are the ones mobilizing partner support. We put things in the budget. The budget is not the only source of support to ministries and agencies. Okay, as we speak, there's one project that I really like called the Special Agriculture Processing Zone. Check in the budget. You don't find money for it there. We mobilized almost 30 million. Almost. The ADB gave in some good sums. And just 2 weeks ago, the OPEC, Fund for International Development, OFAID, that is going to be giving some good chunk of the money, came and we concluded. And that project, which has to do with how they call this zone in Buchanan, right? Yeah, is going to be constructed to help to value addition. Because if we are to take the country from informality to formality in agriculture, we must go up the value chain. We must add value to our products. So why are we doing that? Almost 30 million. Did you see? So when we give stuff, that's why I say do not just look at what is there. In fact, there is a page in the budget that people don't even read about how much we've allocated, how much coming from donors to some of the sectors. Yeah? But people don't read that, and people take liberties. So, but it's a process too. We in the process of open budget. We are going around the country, giving more information on the budget. We having this group called the Fiscal Transparency Working Group, bringing you some of you all journalists and civil society, where we give you more training specifically to help us. So we're going to be doing that. We're trying to get some support because some of these things are technical. If we depend on ourselves to do all the awareness, we're not. And should I think that everyone, including senators or representatives, will know everything? No. So where they even slip on an issue publicly, I don't go out there and say, okay, maybe he's not aware. I put it in the zone of he or she is not aware. So that's it.
Okay, we'll take our last question. The news.
All right. My name is Prince Simon Fort for the news ministry. Honorable Minister, we have roughly 12 more days within 2025. As a minister, how do you describe this year in what is ambitious for next year?
What, 2025? Well, 2025 by and large has been a good year. And good years don't mean that you don't have big challenges we had, and we've, by the grace of God and by dint of hard work, we've weathered the storm. We're ending on a hard note. The president has been attending a lot of good things. Good things have been happening. One, my colleague, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, was in the States. We had negotiated, working with the Ministry of Health, a health financing agreement with the U.S., 124 million. It was on the 9th of December. On the 10th, the MCC board reaffirmed Liberia for a second compact. On the 11th, I was here signing with the Kuwaitis, an agreement. They're committing about 13 million. The folks from OFAID and Badea, 30 million, and then the Saudis, another 10 million. I think the Badea folks, or one of them coming next week. Which one of them is that? Badea. So we'll call you about the 30 million for the Banga Menikoma highway. And now we almost reached the Salaye. So it's practically now Salaye to Konya to Vonjama. And the Pavi Food Agreement that was ratified by the legislature is going to help us from Monrovia to the Bowater side, but also from Menikoma to Vonjama, or from Vonjama to Menikoma. It's in the Pavi Food Agreement. That was signed. And last Monday, we had a launch, thanks to the Minister of Education, Dr. Jaso Jala, and we launched the 100 schools funded by the World Bank and the Global Partnership for Education. Almost 90 million. The president was there. Tuesday, I joined the president again at the ministerial complex. The central bank, thanks to colleague Henry Samuel and his team, working with the Lone Star and Orange. Now we're talking about interoperability. What does that mean? People can now, you don't have to, people who have mobile money set up with Lone Star can transfer to Orange, vice versa. You don't have to be. Before, the two operators were not speaking. Now it's happening. It's significant for the economy. I could go on today. Me and the EU ambassador before, we just announced that the budget support came in, and some other things. The year hasn't ended, some other things happening, but you have to go. I cannot be talking about success of 2025. 2025 has been challenging, but has been largely successful. And from where I said 2026 is going to be better, I conclude on this. I always say that, I repeat, we are not where we want to be, but we are not where we were as a country. Where we were and where we are today, two different things. Now, the promise we gave is that tomorrow is going to be better than today. And day after tomorrow is going to be better than tomorrow. We are on the path of progress, and from all what I see, 2026 will be materially better. You should know that we have a $1.2 billion budget. This year's budget is about 880. So if we fulfill the ambitions of that budget, more lives are going to be impacted. More roads will be constructed. More lights will be out there. Healthcare. In fact, one of the things I forgot to say, we are taking up the salary obligation for next year for workers at EAW Hospital. That hospital had been in challenged circumstances. The owners, the partners could not, and we could not as a government sit here and allow the hospital to collapse. Healthcare. So we're taking that up. I think we budgeted about $1.5 million or more for that. So too many good things are going to happen. So let's work for it. Let's hope for it. And let's be happy that we are all called Liberians. Thank you.
Thank you all. Merry Christmas.